Shirley Sirius Talos Moon, self reminder. Chiron for Gen X in the sign of real estate. This is topic number one. Topic number two, appeasing the Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus, basically, in a sign of a benefic 29 degrees. Um, Uranus' objective in Taurus is to liberate Taurus in such way that the sensual self, relaxing and being, is even more extended. Venus is a benefic sign. So Uranus and Taurus union and has to revolutionize both with that mindset, with increasing that, and with Taurus we increase that along the process. Taurus is one of these wonderful signs that really adapt to the notion that the way is the goal, or the way is, and that way is sensual, pleasurable. Uranus reminds Taurus that there's nowhere to rush, that the people that there is no goal that justify rushing up. I even had tended to the missing and kidnapped people during a freaking war, and that was a very challenging journey of embodying the Taurian and reminding myself what is the core cause, or where are the missing people that are missing from our eyesight, and how the working day and night is not achieving the actual finding of that which is missing and that which caused them missing. And how the Taurian perspective was achieving way more, because it was preserving the sense of peace necessary in emergency time. Um, Knowing, for example, that the way that these people were kidnapped was the way Epstein was created, and the people that funded and were behind the demonstration for the kidnapped people, which was also targeting people to be kidnapped, were funded by the Epstein ring, which is funded by our life energy, not even our taxes, not even our opportunities, our sense of self. That's not just Uranus in Taurus, but that's something that created the courage to take the time and space. Because if Uranus is time and space, Taurus is being. And Taurus, Uranus really pointed to the fact that being requires time and space. And time and space requires being. Now, when we think about Uranus in the upcoming signs, we think about Gemini, which is an adaptive sign. And when we think about Gemini, which is Mercury, which is an adaptive sign, we really need to think about Cancer. Because Cancer is a cardinal water sign of the moon. And just like Venus, anything that operates on violation or abuse of sense of self, now that we have an outer planet in Aries finally. And what outer planet? Neptune, which is the bigger picture of things. And anything that operates on violation of sense of self basically contributes to the division between what Hellenistic astrology calls the day and night sects. And when Uranus will appear again in Cancer, this is where that thing is going to matter a lot, because as a night-born chart, I'm more affected by the moon, but it's not that the day charts are not affected by the moon. It's that the day charts can see the night charts as threat or enemy, although sun and moon is what the mother god and father god. Without the unification of the sects, which means all of us aligning with sense of self, erotic and unerotic, self-trust, organic and technological, and etheric. Our journey with Uranus in Cancer, which is going to be kind of in the 7 years after these 7 years, so we are in 2026, we're expected till, let's say 2026, 2027, we're expected till 2030, 4. And then we begin 7 years of Uranus in Cancer, which is going to be up until the 2040s. Now, because Uranus is about to ingress into Gemini, Gemini is an adaptive sign. Because it is an adaptive sign, it has a wonderful capacity to alleviate inflammation. Think about Gemini as ruled by Mercury, and Mercury associated with both the nervous system, also the skin and the teeth. If Saturn is the structure, Mercury would be the individual tooth. So which teeth connects to what? Okay, the detail is Mercury. If Saturn would be the meridian, Mercury would be from which point do I access it? From reflexology, from massaging my ears, from massaging my vagus nerve, from basically tantrically brushing my teeth. Yes, there is such a thing. Uranus in Taurus taught us that. Just think about the fact that the itch of a fungi creates an orgasm when people itch it, and is usually created by a lack of sensual embodiment and relaxed arousal. And so to not feed the fungi, we need to embody relaxed arousal. Now, what if a person was violated at all, either avoid sexuality even with themselves, or has patterns in sexuality that never really seem to get through to? Okay? Then they will find out that the medication that they take for the issue, which at first seems aesthetic, but then begins to affect the body. And sometimes it's only when a person is receiving antidepressants or there are other the whistleblower edit of antidepressants, antipsychotics. It's antidepressant. If you actually get to recover, you get an antipsychotic, and if you actually get to recover from that, well, now you have to expose the Peter ring. That's pretty much how Epstein ring dropped. Now, truth tell, the wonderful thing about Mercury ruled Uranus is that Mercury has to unite the sects. Mercury has to unite and adapt between the structure and order where every choice has an implication, and that implication is very much known in advance or can be predicted in advance, kind of like the day sect. The one has to be, confident and make their choices and take the responsibility. Two, the goal is the way, and I need to be safe and free at every step, because if I'm not, it means that other people can't follow me. Now we already made a bridge between the moon and the sun. If I climb up the ladder, Capricorn, Saturn, but I make a step that is gigantic, I need to address the many steps that other people couldn't make. Otherwise, I can't require people to just take responsibility for being poor. Okay? One of the examples, when I jumped the after Me Too, a lot of people at the Me Too, they were litigating, they were writing posts, they were not taking it a step forward. Then they practiced some yoga and were probably targeted again. I ask myself, why do people come to be particularly sexually violent and mind controlling to one another? Like, originally, like, why? It's irrational. It is always the maladaptive way to achieve things. What's happening here? And I was paying attention that there's certain things to do with my traumas. There were meeting traumas there, but when I go to recover from these traumas, there are attempts to put me back into trauma. Forget for a second funded by my money. And then the more I approach science, the more I discover actual solutions, that even the scariest psychiatric issue is alleviated by housing first, abolishing the targeting of the individuals, believing the patient. And that has a security advantage, lo and behold, because it was practiced in Finland to a certain degree. Then I learned that people don't like my country. I'm like, hey, it's not like your country is any better. What don't they like about my country? Oh, we don't like the personality code. Oh, exactly the thing that I have been suffering from all time long. Do you have an alternative for that? Now, Mercury in Gemini is adaptive. But we have to keep in mind that it's going to ingress into Cancer. Ingressing into another one of the planet rule signs that could be divided into day and night sects according to the astrology that was at the time of at the time where they were really um, not honoring women. If we get the moon to be on the other team of the sun, and Venus to be on the other team of Jupiter, and Mars to be on the other team of Saturn, then we have stones that don't move, people that don't procreate. Oh yeah. Light that is not received, and emotions that do not get validated, that do not get, and people that do not feel seen. They can be watched but not feel seen. Uranus in Mercury sign has a job to go through these 7 years so that we reach Cancer being able to have the best setup to liberate anything in Cancer in a way that their safety, not resilience, safety, nourishment, ability to move emotionally. This is why the moon exalts in Taurus. Ability to generate change emotionally is met with even more safety, nourishment. Cancer is a sign of housing. if Gemini is the sign of trade, how do we adapt trade to? I was just watching, um, and this is someone that prompted the first topic that I needed and that I owe you a video about, and this is Edward Economics. With people, Gen X cannot sell their properties, and now they can't sell their properties. Now, in the meantime, they have to pay property taxes. They have to pay insurance. Now, if I take on somebody's property tax and insurance, I'm not a tenant. If I come into contractual relations with a state owner that has this problem, and I pretend that I will pay them their property taxes and alleviate their insurance concerns, and at least nullify their expenses to zero, and pretend that that's going to be suffice for me, I'm fooling both myself and them. Because if I don't currently own an estate, or have an estate, or have a sense of safety that me and whoever will be my predecessors, whether as students, as clients, as children, have this sense of safety regarding housing that's adaptive to the spirit of the time, I'm only fooling myself and anybody that will come into contractual relations with such a tenant is also fooling themselves. This is why they want to sell to begin with. Uranus in Gemini tends to the question of trade. In Cancer, we would expect that to be seen in our food, our housing, our emotional safety. And the emotional safety, the particular type of emotional safety with Cancer, is the emotional safety to generate the change. What is secure attachment? It's the fact that there was a crisis on the road. Some of the people I studied astrology the most from may or may have not been involved with the Epstein, and even if, probably it's generated through torture. Secure attachment is knowing that I can address that without fearing my life, without fearing me being able to have housing, me being able to have food, and without being under the control of. Is knowing that pain reverence cannot be done in atmosphere of rape. And it's knowing that when my opportunities and my resources that were deprived because of are mine. No, Ida. Moon is also mundanely the sign of nations and people and tribes. A tribe is a cult when people cannot have secure attachment within it. And that's just one point to think about with these upcoming Uranus transits.